だいまより NTT データグループ完全子会社化に関わる記者会見を始めます。本日はお忙しい中、急なお呼び立てにもかかわらずお集まりいただきまして誠にありがとうございます。司会を務めます NTT 広報部門関根です。よろしくお願いいたします。それでは本日の出席者をご紹介いたします。
Today's participant, NTT Representative Director, President and CEO, Akira Shimada. NTT Data Group, Representative Director, President and CEO, Yutaka Sasaki. So the two will be the speakers. Let me explain the proceeding for today. First, President Shimada of NTT, and then President Sasaki of NTT Data Group will do the presentation, and then we will take questions. We will have a photo session by President Shimada, President Sasaki at the end. At 3:35, NTT NTT Data Group's website has the information posted. We will now start the press conference. President Shimada. I'm Shimada of NTT. Thank you very much for your attendance despite this very last-minute notice. Let me explain the transaction to make NTT Data Group a wholly owned subsidiary, the purpose and the significance from myself, followed by President Sasaki of NTT Data Group. NTT announced our medium-term management strategy in 2023 and raised 3 pillars of our initiatives, namely NTT as a creator of new value and accelerator of global sustainable society, 2, upgrading the customer experience, and 3, improving the employee experience. In particular, NTT Data Group's business, such as strengthening the use of DX and data in society and industry, including our system integration business, and expansion and upgrade of data center infrastructure, are positioned as a key driver for the growth of NTT Group and promoted further. On the other hand, the current capital relationship between NTT and NTT Data Group has challenges such as conflicts of interest associated with the dual listing, complex decision-making process, and accountability to shareholders of both companies regarding the investment of resources. To overcome these challenges, and to enable NTT Group to pursue the direction it aspires, we decided to make NTT Data Group a wholly owned subsidiary this time. By making NTT Data Group a wholly owned subsidiary, a structure will be established where NTT Data Group plays a central role in NTT Group's global solution business, and the growth of NTT Data Group will accelerate the growth of NTT Group as a whole. By making NTT Data Group a wholly owned subsidiary, we will pursue 3 initiatives. First is enhancement of the global solutions business portfolio. For example, strengthen presence in markets like North America, expand AI-enabled services, advance digital engineering, and expand and upgrade data center infrastructure. We've been investing to grow these areas until now, but by making NTT Data Group a wholly owned subsidiary, NTT Group's cash flow can be leveraged to execute more flexible, speedy, and bold growth investments. Second is enhancement of coordination of resources and capabilities of both groups. In corporate sales, we will strengthen and expand sales of integrated solutions for large corporations by combining customer bases and offerings, and strengthen sales to municipalities and small and medium-sized companies by leveraging the software assets developed by NTT DATA Group. In R&D, we will upgrade data center infrastructure by leveraging IOWN and implement AI in real world by utilizing Tsuzumi, which is NTT's version of large language model. And third is facilitation of rapid decision-making and improving cost competitiveness and customer employee experience, CX and EX. We will facilitate rapid decision-making and optimize resources and assets by simplifying governance and consolidating overlapping functions, and promote cross-group DX of shared internal operations in the area of software development and corporate sales by maximizing the use of AI. By utilizing DX and AI across the group and optimizing governance and workflow, we think we can enhance the customer experience through continuous service improvement and improve cost efficiency and the employee experience by streamlining operations. Next, we will implement the tender offer for shares of NTT Group to make NTT Group a wholly owned subsidiary. Tender offer period is May 9th, tomorrow, till June 19th. Tender offer price is 4,000 yen per share. All of NTT Data Group's shares, excluding shares owned by NTT and NTT Data Group. Total amount is 2,371.2 billion yen. If NTT is not able to acquire all of NTT Data Group's shares through tender offer, NTT Data Group will be made a wholly owned subsidiary through demand for share cash out or reverse stock split. Next is financing and financial policy. For financing, the tender offer will be financed through bridge loans from Japanese financial institutions, and the bridge loans are planned to eventually be replaced with long-term financing. Regarding financial policy, we will continue to make growth investments and return profits to shareholders while maintaining financial soundness, and aim to return to the pre-tender offer financial position in the medium term, and work to realize the effect of investments in growth areas, improve profitability in existing areas, and realize synergies through this transaction. Lastly, initiatives for synergy creation. First, NTT DATA Group and NTT Group companies will engage in discussions to strengthen collaboration and optimize overlapping functions. Nothing has been decided as of now, but we are, for example, examining the topics listed here. Collaboration on optimization of sales to large corporations with NTT Communications, AI technology with NTT Technocross, upgrading BPO business with IT services with NTT Marketing Act Pro CX and NTT Nexia, and R&D with NTT R&D. The relevant companies will establish up a framework to consider specific initiatives, the target structure, and the schedule to produce synergy early on. That concludes my presentation. Thank you for your attention.
Next, President Sasaki, please. I am Sasaki of NTT DATA Group. Thank you very much for your time out of your very busy schedules today. Given the proposal by NTT, under the title of Toward Further Growth of NTT Group Corporation, I would like to explain. First of all, I would like to explain the current situation of NTT DATA Group. Our company in March 2025 achieved sales of 4.6 trillion yen. Ever since our establishment for 36 consecutive terms, we have increased our sales, and we continue to grow as a core company responsible for NTT Group's corporate business. As for domestic business, in the IT service market of Japan, we have achieved share number one, and with the strength of deep industry expertise and a strong customer relationship, we have high competitive advantage. As for overseas business, in October 2022, our overseas business of NTT Group and NTT Data were integrated, and we have number 3 in the data center business. We are a unique provider, and we currently have 50 locations worldwide. Next, I would like to talk about the market environment. In the current IT service market, the DX demand continues to be very strong, and recently, generative AI or agentic AI's needs is very high. And also, the demand for data center, which support these as infrastructure, is also rapidly expanding. In the long-term perspective, quantum computing or optical communication technology or other new technology development is intensively becoming more competitive, and as a result, more investment is making into M&A in these growth areas. This is the mission in NTT DATA Group. Accelerate client success and positively impact society through responsible innovation is our mission. Through this mission, we would strive to provide a service to customers and society in order to enhance our corporate value. Next, I would like to talk about the NTT DATA Group's goals. Quality growth is what we aim at. Quality growth is to maximize value by providing value to customers while maintaining growth both with quality and sustainability. In order to implement quality growth, the proposal implementation and client success model is our common value creation model, and we are striving to create client success. This model is not only limited to making proposals of value or creating ideas, but we will utilize our asset in order to accomplish implementation, which is our strength. Next, I would like to talk about the focus area for quality growth. We have 4 focus businesses today. Going forward, we would like to make digital and experiences, next-gen infra, and agentic AI. These will be the focus areas that we will be strengthening in order to maximize value to customers and society. As for digital and experiences and next-generation infrastructure, these 2 will drive sustainable growth. And as for agentic AI, we will not only lead AI utilization for customers and society, but we will also utilize AI within ourselves as well, and we would like to focus on these areas to implement quality growth. Next, I would like to talk about what NTT DATA Group aims to achieve. There are 3 things that we would like to aim at, and the initiatives will be explained from next page onwards. First of all, strengthening the portfolio and global solutions through ASI growth investments. Our company, by leveraging financial foundation of NTT Group, will conduct agile growth investment in order to strengthen our focus areas. In order to strengthen our unique business portfolio, we will proactively invest in growth areas, specifically service utilizing AI technology to establish global presence in North American market, data center, and digital engineering. We are considering investment in these 4 growth areas. Next, I would like to talk about the enhancement of collaboration between NTT DATA Group and NTT Group in resources and capabilities. By combining NTT Group's R&D and NTT DATA Group's industry and client insight, we will accelerate development of new services for our clients, both domestically and in overseas business. Furthermore, we will strengthen competitive advantage and expand business opportunities in the enterprise space. As for life-size enterprise market, our company and NTT Group's organization will further collaborate in order to enhance our competitive advantage. In mid-sized enterprise market, we will leverage on NTT Group's scale merit and channel brand strength in order to expand our business opportunity. Next, acceleration of decision-making and improvement of cost competitiveness. We will accelerate and simplify our governance structure in our global business and accelerate our corporate value improvement. Specifically, we will simplify the capital structure of NTT DATA Inc. decision-making structure, and we will also accelerate our decision-making of large-size M&A data center and construction. And NTT Group back office function will also be leveraged in order to further improve cost efficiency and production improvement. Lastly, NTT DATA Group's board of directors decided to support NTT's proposal to achieve further business development on a global scale. Towards realizing quality growth, NTT DATA Group will increase the value provided to customers by making flexible investments in cooperation with NTT Group and utilizing the technologies, human resources, knowledge, and assets of the entire NTT Group. NTT DATA Group will further demonstrate leadership in the global solutions business and contribute to the enhancement of NTT Group's corporate value as an important core company of NTT Group. This concludes my explanation. Thank you very much for your kind attention.
We would now like to take questions. First, questions from this venue. If you have any questions, please raise your hand. Our staffs will bring you a microphone, so please state your company name, media name, and your name before asking your question. And please also mention who you are directing the question to. First, in the interest of time, we will take 2 questions per person. So second from the front, in glasses, please. Hello, Toyo Keizai, Chayama is my name. Thank you very much. I have 2 questions. First, from around when have you been examining this transaction to make NTT DATA Group a wholly owned subsidiary and making a wholly owned subsidiary? What was the challenge? What were the roadblocks, factors you needed to overcome? So data center, you mentioned 1.5 trillion yen investment in 5 years, and NTT Data Center's balance sheet. Analysts had been making some points on that. So what were hindering, and what you will be able to do by making NTT Data a wholly owned subsidiary, please? Let me start. In October 2022, NTT's overseas business was integrated into NTT Data. And after the integration, we established a full stack service, infrastructure, data center to upper layer application. We became a globally unique service provider. We transformed ourselves into a global service provider. We have shareholders, and NTT DATA Group has shareholders too. So global NTT DATA Inc. shareholder structure is NTT Group 55%, NTT 45%, NTT Data 55%. And what made it more complex is data center. NTT Data Inc. It's under NTT Data Inc. NTT Data Global Center, 50% of its capital is held by NTT Data Inc. And NTT Urban Renaissance has 20%. And holdings and finance and communications has 10%. So the capital structure is now very complex. So the shareholders' intention, we had to discuss to align the shareholders' interest, and it took time to discuss this and sort things out. NTT Data Inc. 55 and 45. So the shareholder agreement was signed. So we had to start from the discussion rulemaking, and then the content of the discussion had to take into account the standpoint of each shareholders and discuss and come to an agreement. It was time consuming. And now we are living in an era where things move quickly in an agile fashion. So to keep up with the speed, we lacked in speed. So that was the challenge we had. Therefore, in around September last year, we started examining the possibility. And around November, we sounded out this proposal, and in December, we started examining this officially. We communicated this to President Sasaki. So in that sense, we examined for about 6 months till today. We think we had similar sense of problems. We are trying to make inroads into the global market, and the largest challenge was speed. Speedy investment decision, speedy customer service provision. This is most required. So we wanted to become an optimal structure to make that happen. Thank you very much. One more question is, Docomo was made wholly owned subsidiary. It was NTT Communications and Comware. You were looking into the other further restructuring. This time around, as President Sasaki mentioned, Inc. has data has 55% and holding has 45%. So you are revisiting the shareholding structure. The overseas business subsidiaries, are they also being considered now, the restructuring? With this data group's wholly owned subsidiary, are you thinking of more? We have not decided anything yet. But basically, yes, that is the problem that we think we have. So once we become wholly owned subsidiary, we want to sort out the capital relationship. So overseas business subsidiaries will become wholly owned subsidiary as well? No, I didn't mean that. In data groups will make it the company's a wholly owned subsidiary. So Inc. Will be NTT Group's wholly owned subsidiary. And data centers, global data center companies will be made wholly owned subsidiaries underneath so that we can have a simple governance structure. But nothing has been decided. Understood. Thank you very much.
Next question, please. So the person in the right with the blue jacket. Nikkei BP, my name is Horikoshi. I have 2 questions for President Shimada. A wholly owned subsidiary making data a wholly owned subsidiary, but you had a parent-child listing structure. And Mr. Shimada said that capital has been made complicated. On the other hand, IOWN, other growth areas, investment, you have to make investment into other strategies as well. But why did you prioritize TOB of data? It's sort of been taken as a receptive investment. So what do you think about that? This is my first question. Well, Data Group is facing global customers directly. Therefore, our business going forward, when we think about the growth of our future business, global business will be the center of a business, both for Japan as well. When we say global, it includes Japan, and so business development of global business would be the top priority. Therefore, data groups will have to stand right in front of NTT Group, and intra-group, well, as I mentioned, collaboration will have to be made. And going forward, if we think about the business portfolio in the future, growth expectations is in the growth areas of a NTT Data Group. Therefore, we would first like to have a strong pillar there and fix our strength there, and then inject resources of NTT, including human resources and cash as well. And as I mentioned earlier, if there are a lot of obstacles in doing so, we will not be able to make speedy decisions. Those are the challenges. Therefore, in order to respond speedily, we have to have this kind of organization. That is why we have decided to make NTT Data Group 100% subsidiary. Understood. On a related note, well, capital is, if it's too complicated, you may not be able to make speedy decisions. But on the other hand, NTT Data Group, as the global business has been reorganized, it took time to do a lot of PMI. If there are too many PMIs, then it may take time for growth. So what is the trade-off between taking too much time for PMI and a speedy decision? Well, I would like to first make a simple answer. Well, simplifying capital is not that we are going to touch on organizations. If we make a decision, it's not a big deal. Basically, just by going through financial processes. And I don't think there will be any impact on the current PMI ongoing. As for overseas business, I would like to make some additional comments. As for overseas business, as I explained earlier, in 2022 October, we got integrated with Limited, and on a global basis, we are number 8 in ranking as IT service provider. And over the past 2 years, what I felt is, while we are in a global competition, we need to think how we can compete. And so we recognize that challenge. And scale merit, hyperscalers, big tech, we have a lot of opportunities to converse with these entities. And also we have a collaboration with OpenAI, which was announced earlier. And in order to win these competition, as Mr. Shimada mentioned, bold investment will sometimes be necessary. So in a larger financial foundation, we believe that we will be able to respond to these agile investments.
So we will take the next question. To my left, center, please. Newspeaks Hadani is my name. I have 2 questions. First is to Shimada-san. Earlier, you said that you will do TOB. You mentioned the complexity of the capital relationship, but that existed before 2022. So why October 2022? Maybe you had an option of doing TOB in October 22, but you did not do that. Why not? And the other question is to President Sasaki. You talked about the history behind the TOB. So, Sasaki-san, what was your first impression when you were sounded out on the TOB? First, the October 22. We decided around May of 2022 to take this format. We had to try things to find out. As a result, in October 2022, we realized that this is feasible as of May 2022. Because without changing the capital relationship, capital structure, we explored ways to not change the capital structure, but it turned out to be quite difficult. So that's what led to this current status. It is business. So in the process of evolution, the global integration in October 2022, we thought it's better for the customers if we are full stack globally, and customers want various products and services to be supplied, so it's better if we structure ourselves accordingly. But furthermore, data center business and the surrounding businesses gain speed. Is becoming quicker with the expansion of AI business. So we have to speed up even more, as I mentioned over and over. And to realize that, we had to organize ourselves again and gain speed. That was the conclusion. So it seems as though we took some unnecessary steps, but in each step of the way, we tried to solve things and led to the current status. So it's not that anything we did was meaningless or useless. Thank you. My second question is, as President Shimada said earlier, I was sounded out in November, and the official process was from mid-December. Back then, NTT Data Group's the journalists, analysts who are looking at NTT Group's financials, after the integration with Limited, data center demand grew, and data center investment was accelerated. And currently, ROIC is deteriorating. The financial position has been deteriorating, as pointed out by the investors. So, further M&A investment was difficult. Under such circumstances, one significance of this transaction this time is to get on a bigger boat to gain agility and make timely investment decisions. As I meet the investors, I felt the disadvantage of the parent subsidiary listing. And as Shimada-san said, there was complexity with the capital structure. It was difficult to understand from the investors' point of view. I felt that. So I thought this was a good opportunity to resolve the governance challenges. Thank you.
Next question, please. Yes, the person in the very front row. My name is Kuroda of Asahi Shimbun. I have a question to Mr. Shimada. Is there any FTC-related issues, Fair Trade Commission issue, making this NTT Data a wholly owned subsidiary? Because in 1988, because of the fair trade issue, NTT Data has been separated, but with the integration of NTT Data, I think there is a concern once again. How do you think about the concern, anxiety over fair competition? For this, basically, I don't think there is any impact on fair competition. In 1988, if you think about the environment back in 1988, I think regulations have largely changed. For example, the network infrastructure fairness the East and West under the law, Article 30, they have to be dealing fairness. And in 2022, joint procurement guidelines have been made by MIC in 2020. And right now in diet, the secondment is being prohibited. So the way based East and West and NTT Data Group as a dual serving both serving as an executive for both companies are being prohibited, and so there are different regulations. And so in terms of the fair competition condition that has been regulated in the past, the situation has largely changed. There are new regulations, but also a lot of regulations have been resolved. So I believe that the concerns that you have mentioned is now gone.
では、はい、勝手に
Next question in the white shirt. Yomiuri Nozawa is my name. I have one question to President Shimada. This is a long story, but NTT, if I hear NTT, it was a long era where NTT East and West took the centerpiece. But now AI and IOWN and Docomo's economic zone competition. There are various types of competition. So Docomo and Data Group's wholly owned subsidiary. With these events, the group, companies, a balance or relationship, what kind of changes are you seeing or anticipating? It's the 40th anniversary of our privatization. 40 years ago, the revenue breakdown was telephone 85% and the telegram 15%. Now, voice communication like Docomo's mobile phone, even including that, maybe less than 15% voice communication, including Docomo. So the rest of the business acquires from the majority. So in the 40 years, business portfolio has changed continuously. So as you just mentioned, 40 years ago, East and West were not separated yet. NTT East West fixed line was the main part of the business, fixed line business. But now the mobile business, we are thinking of how to wind down. That is the discussion. And the revision for the NTT law came out. By next year, we will have less than 10 million subscribers, and majority are now mobile. So, as you rightly said, going forward, it's AI and JB platform. These data center business will be not only Japan, but expansion globally. So NTT Data is a third largest data center player. And as President Sasaki mentioned, we are number 8 in the IT sector. And very soon, we want to become the top 5. So the business portfolio is changing very quickly. So that is how this transaction to make NTT Data Group a wholly owned subsidiary is positioned. One more question. Back in 2022 and now, as asked by the earlier questioner, what is the difference in the environment? AI and IOWN environment have changed in terms of speed and growth and the business, main business. Are these the changes? Yes, AI CAGR is 75%. Data center CAGR is 15 to 20%, according to our forecast. AI is higher and it's accelerating further. So for us to secure a globally competitive position, we need to take the right move. Otherwise, we will be left behind very quickly. So to become the winner in the global competition, we are taking a big policy, and this is positioned as one of our overarching policy.
Next question, please. The person in the back with the black shirt. My name is Takatsuki of Nikkei. I have two questions. My first point is, I'm sorry to repeat the same question. Not only in 2022, but looking back from 2018, the reorganization of the overall group has been led or has been started. And from that point, and the current GAFAM, the global large tech players are growing very rapidly. If you think about that, for example, in 2018 or before that, the direction of one NTT has already been set out. And I think there was a plan to, I think there was an option to have this kind of a plan back at that time. So do you not think that this is too late? Any comment on that? Well, if you say it was too late, it might have been better to think things earlier. However, business portfolios or the changes in the products will require some certain time for changes, and business portfolio from fixed lines to optics to mobile phones. As we saw these changes, how should we replace fixed lines with other business? There was a timing to think about that. And if you say it was too late, well, don't know what to say, but of course, earlier the better, maybe. But what is required at that time, depending on the situation, is important. And my recognition is that we were able to catch up with the times. We were not too late. If you say, you may feel that it was too late, but we are trying to respond to the current changes of the environment. And, well, you may think, then why did it take 6 months? But from 2018, we have been working on investment development, urban planning, but in 2022, because we made a global reorganization, we were able to recognize the challenges that we have. And in order to further expand our global business, we recognize that we need more initiatives to move further. And we reached upon a consensus of that. So time is necessary. Even if I say I want to do this and that, it's not myself that is doing business. We have 300,000, 400,000 employees, and all of these employees will have to face the same direction. And so I need to drive the direction. But depending on the environment, we have to turn sometimes left or drive sometimes to the right direction. And I think we need to do that depending on the changes of the times. One more question, please. I would like to have either Mr. Shimada or Sasaki answer. To achieve this wholly owned subsidiary, well, the significance was explained, but going forward, in order to grow in the global IT service business, what would you like to emphasize? What would you like to focus on by introducing the effects that you'll be enjoying? How are you going to further grow the company? Well, we talked about the global positioning of NTT Data Group earlier, and I think we have a very unique position. Among the top IT service provider, there are not so many that are operating data centers so much, and Japan-originated business is also one unique point as well. NTT Group's R&D power or strength is also in our back. And considering the portfolio that we have, data center times IOWN is something that we need to think about. And in AI area, Suzumi's value will also have to be expanded. And from the DX era, we will perhaps this year enter into the AI era. And there will be a lot of game changes that we will be seeing this year. Therefore, I think this would be a very good opportunity in order to provide a larger value to our clients.
So one more point on IOWN. As you know, one is APN, All Photonics Network. In March, in Mumbai data center, there are 3 areas. They were connected by APN. And with missed cable from Singapore. So we have from Mumbai and Chennai. So we connected with the cable to create new value. 3 data centers can be operated as one data center seamlessly. India, we have #1 market share in data center. So first we will utilize APN and expand this globally. And the electronic photonic conversion in Osaka Expo, we have a server where the energy consumption can be cut down to 1/8. So we are showing the samples and show the actual product and demonstrate the product. And they are NTT Data's customers, clients. So how we can use the photoelectronic fusion products and structure the product, or DCI for computers, how we can address the computer area. This can be done globally. So for IOWN, NTT Data Group's capability is extremely important.
I'm sorry, because of limitation of time, we would now like to take questions from those participating online. Those who have questions, please push the raise hand button and we will point you. When pointed, then please unmute yourself. So questions, please. No questions? Then we will go back to the floor once again. There are 3 hands raised. So the person in the middle with the gray jacket.
ダイヤモンド社の村井です。
My name is Murai of Diamond.
今回の件の至るまでの経緯は
The process up until today has been explained in details earlier,
ちょっと細かい点を
but I have some detailed
まず
question.
今回の完全子会社の検討
When you said that the capital complexity was one reason for making NTT Data's a wholly owned subsidiary or the investment in data center being colossal, and you said that you have started discussion from September last year.
去年の9月
Why was it September last year? Can you explain that more in details?
まあデータセンターの投資が増えた
You had more investments into data center.
わかるんですけど
I do understand that environment, but it was
4月から走って
April 2023 that you made this current MTP plan.
きっかけがあった
So was there any trigger last September to start discussion on this?
何らかのきっかけがあったのかどうかということについて教えていただければありがたいです
So please tell me if there was any specific trigger. Well, September within whole is the time when we started to form a team specific for this within holdings. But in October 2022, there was an integration, and data is originally a solutions business. So it's not a type of business which requires a lot of capex. Rather, the communications business of holdings requires more initial investments, and which will be recouped later. That's the business model of holdings. So the business model is different between the two. However, we cannot provide one-stop service to customers unless these two get together. Where to make capital investments, for example, when we do global business in solutions business, are we going to do an M&A or are we going to invest in data center? What would be the portfolio? Those are the topics that we need to discuss. And as we had better understanding, deeper understanding, we came up with a conclusion or idea that we should work together. So as we discussed along, we thought that as one unit, we will be able to inject common resources. That is why we have decided to examine the possibility. And I sounded to data last November, NTT Data last November. So as we recognized our various issues, this topic came up. So it's not like it currently occurred to me. So
in June 24, Data Group, President Sasaki assumed office and started a new structure.
体制の変更みたいな
So was that structural change a trigger? Well, structural change was not directly related. Sasaki-san, before he became president, we knew each other very well. So at that point, we did not make any proposals, but we had the general sense of problems. We both did, I think. We cannot check how we felt back then, and to clarify the history, you started examining this in September last year and sounded out in November and started the examination in December and 6 months later today. I'm not saying you're slow, but I think you examined very carefully and deliberately.
例えばこの去年の11月に出しまして
So in November, you sounded
12
out
の検討開始
and started the examination in December. So what were the
ここから
changes?
半年に至る
And in the past 6 months, what kind of checking did you do or issues you overcame?
かかったので
I'm not saying you took too long, but what did you examine carefully?
問題であるとか
So the group,
目に見えない確認項目も
there are many invisible check items, I think, but what did you check that took this much time?
あまり時間かかったと実は思ってない。
I don't think we took too much
そんな
time.
時間だったと思う。
I think it was a necessary amount of time.
佐々木さんからお話ししたさせていただいた方がいいかも
Maybe it's better explained by Sasaki-san,
あの
but
基本的にはその我々例えばどういう
basically, why we want to do this, the reason, and how much Data's outside directors compose the special committee, and we negotiate with this special committee. So it's not done by the executive side.
そこに対して
So
なんて言いますかね、理由の説明とか
we had to explain the
それから
reasons
交渉とかっていう
and
ことを
the price
まあ含めるとトータルでやっ
negotiation,
ぱり
including all those items.
何度もやってるわけですよ。
We did this many times, the discussion. We explained 4 times and negotiated 5 times. So 9 back and forth, 9 interactions.
当然少数株主の立場っていうのは
And the minority shareholders' position had to be
それに
respected.
必要なまあ時間があった。
So that also took time.
はい。まあ今少し触れていただいた
So as mentioned earlier, on December 18th, we officially disclosed our intent. And at the end of December, we established a special committee.
特別委員会
A special committee.
意見表明のプレスっていうのを出してます。
We had a press release on the announcement of our intent. And the special committee had more than 20 meetings to discuss the significance of this transaction, especially for the minority shareholders. If this is advantageous for the minority shareholders, we had deep dive. And the negotiation started in April. And so the significance of this transaction was fully discussed. And then the price negotiation started in April. And here we are here today.
去年12月
So in December, before you started the formal examination, there was a sounding out in November.
島田社長から
The sounding out was from Shimada-san to Sasaki-san. One-on-one? Yes.
口頭で
Yes, verbally.
検討をしたいんですけど、
I said we want to explore the opportunity. Thank you very much.
すいません、次、
I'd like to move on to the person in the back, but because of limitation of time, please limit your question to one. This will be the very last. Excuse me. My name is Sekiguchi of Research Institute. Mr. Shimada and Mr. Sasaki, I would like both of you to answer my question.
今回、の発表はあくまでその
This announcement
ということだ
is to make NTT Data wholly owned subsidiary. But when we think about what comes next,
事業のその組み替え的なものまで
the recombining of business, are you thinking about reorganization or recombining your business? So I think in the past you reorganized your corporate business, but the customers are globalized. So what used to be scattered may now today be done in an integrated manner. So do you have any thoughts on that? And that's my first question. And second, how will your overseas sales ratio change going forward?
フォーメーションのままで行った時に比べて
With compared to the current formation,
先ほどおっしゃった
if both companies become under one umbrella, and you, I think, mentioned that you will be on a larger boat. But in the new formation, how will your overseas revenue ratio go up or change?
まずは
Well, first of all,
コムとの関係ですけれども、
with relation to COM,
組織を触ろうと思う
basically we do not want to change the organization,
データとそのコミュニ
but
ケーション
data and
で、あるいはお客
communications,
様両方で言ってるお客様いらっしゃいますので、
there are common
ここでなんか
customers,
アカウント
and
を
therefore we need to sort of simplify the accounts or integrate the accounts. That would be more beneficial for our customers.
まあ効率化させることによって、
And by
今まで
improving
お伺い
efficiency,
できていないお客様に
we
ところにも
will
伺うこともできる
have room to visit customers who we were not able to in the past. So the corporate sales account will be more organized or integrated and simplified.
バルはその多分
And as for global
まだ
business,
何も決まってるものはないです。
well, nothing has been decided
例え
yet.
ばやはり北
But
米
for
の市場
example,
とか
in the North American market
とか
or
そういう
UK,
まだまだそのなんていうんですかね、もう少し
in these markets,
まあケイパビリティっていうか能力を高め
I
て
think we need to raise our capability more.
思ってるし私も思ってる。
I think Sasaki-san also have the same thought.
まあ
Therefore,
例えば M&A ですとかそういう
maybe M&A is something that we need to think about seriously in these
そういう
markets.
とかそういうのを強化するべき
So we need to strengthen those considerations.
まあこれからの話なので、まあ協議をしていきたい
So
なと
this is something about the future, so we need to have more discussions on this. But NTT Data has been nurturing expertise in industry or consulting capability with the customers, etc. So by using NTT Data's assets, how much can we maximize our business? I think that is the point. More than before, I think we will be able to leverage on our asset and have more human exchanges. And how much we can maximize the value we provide to customers, not only domestically here, but in the global market, we need to maximize value to provide to our customers. And that would be the basis of our considering our future plans. So overseas sales plan, data today is 60%. So you think that this increase in overseas revenue ratio will accelerate? Well, as for the market share in the overseas market, we are growing and there will be more room for growth. And as Mr. Shimada has mentioned earlier, the North American market or UK are the markets that we still have room for growth, either be organic or inorganic. We believe that we should be reaching those markets. So is there any target, specific target? No, no specific numerical target.
Thank you very much. So we will take one last question. One question, please. First row, please. Nikkei Crosstech, Morioka is my name. So until now, you talked about the advantages, but conversely, any concerns or disadvantage from this integration? Let me start. We're not thinking of that much disadvantage, downside. I cannot think of any. It only has advantage, I think.
まあ本件については特別委員会の中でもだいぶ議論いただいて
That was discussed in depth in the special committee.
いわゆる NTT データグループ
NTT Data Group will no longer be a listed company. So maybe this will demotivate the employees or the engagement may decline. Those concerns were raised in the committee, but we think rather we can utilize the R&D results and asset can be utilized in more ways. Which means we can engage ourselves in more interesting business. We want to explain to our employees that way. So we will run our business solidly so that it will not lead to such concerns. Thank you very much. So we will now do a photo session. Please wait for a moment till we prepare ourselves.
Hi. はい、それでは笑顔でお願いいたします。
With a smile, please.
しいでしょうか。よろしいでしょうか。
We okay? Thank you very much. Thank you.
よろしいでしょうか。はい。それではこれをもちまして。
So with that,
よろしいですか。
thank you.
それではこれをも
With
ちま
that,
して
we would like to close NTT Group's transaction to make NTT Data Group a wholly owned subsidiary press conference. Thank you very much. After this, NTT Data Group's financial results briefing will start. Please wait till we get ready.